Shemai, how are you all? I hope you've all had a lovely weekend. I've had a nice crafty weekend because I spent yesterday crafting with friends and it's been very productive. So I thought I'd come to you this Sunday evening with a card, a gatefold card. This one is like a little gatefold note card. It was inspired by a card I made yesterday. This one I made yesterday here, and I used, as you can see, the brick embossing folder. If I bring it up close to the camera, you can see the detail. And I came back then from my crop thinking, right then, what shall I do next? So this is the one I'm fancying next. So I've used, I shall go through everything I've used the gingham gala papers 6x6 from the Occasions catalogue. This one is in Grapefruit Grove, but I'm doing the next one in Highland Heather. Put that over there. I'm also using, and I know I say this about nearly all my stamp sets, but I love the Jar of Love set, and it's got matching framelets. I've used this one such a lot. I've used it in quite a few classes as well. And I'm also using, for the sentiment, stitched all around. Again, this is another lovely stamp set because it's got the matching framelets, and if you see the pattern around, that's the pattern that the framelets cut out. And then I'm using the brick embossing folder as well, just to add a bit more detail. I've done some of the preparation, but I'm actually going to prepare the card live on camera, if you can believe it. So it needs to be 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm just, as I say, I've broken my Stampin' Up trimmer at the moment. So Lee's going to see if you can repair it for me. I'm going to keep this card because I'm going to use this to back the focus piece on. So that's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. There we go. So put it on there lengthways, and I'm scoring at 2 1/8. There we are. And 6 3/8. There we are. Let's put that out the way now. I'm going to put the scoreboard on the floor, but in case it falls over. And turn my card over then and fold them in. I'm going to use my bone folder just to make sure I've got a nice sharp crease. And what you want is for it to meet up nicely in the middle, which this one is. There we go. So there's our gatefold card. I've cut the gingham gala down to start with. So I'm just going to stick that on the front panel. There we are. So what I've done, I've just left a little bit of a gap across the bottom with my gingham gala. I've used the big squares on my sample one, but I'm going to use the smaller squares now on this piece. I'm going to try and make sure I line it up with the one on the other side. There we go. And what we're going to do now, I've already stamped the leaves. I'm just going to emboss this now in the brick embossing folder. I'm going to try and put it centrally. Let me put it on that way. I'm trying to think which way where there's going to be debossed or embossed, so it might come out as a surprise to me now. So I'm just off to the side using the big shot rather than bringing it in. There we go. I do like these bigger embossing folders. So there we are. So this piece now, when we stick it down, will be on this side. I'm going to use the piece I had left over now. I'm going to, instead of pre-cutting the piece, to make sure I don't waste any of the cardstock, I'm going to stick this down and just trim around it then. So yeah, we had a lovely day yesterday. I think I made about 6 cards in total. In my determination not to buy any cards this year, I'm going to bring in my my trusty Staples trimmer for this piece. Only because I find it easier to line it up to cut. There we are. So what I've done with the vases, I didn't show you the centre. I've also got one in the centre of the card as well. What I've done, I've stamped them on vellum with stays on. Now remember, if you're using stays on, the best thing, especially for your photopolymer stamps, is to use stays on cleaner to make sure it all comes off. And I'm going to use, I had a little bit of a funny 5 minutes then. I think my camera went off. So I'm just colouring the back of the jars to make it look like they've got a little bit of water in them. And then that's going to be stuck on there. I'm going to do the one that's going inside as well. And because it's in vellum, it gives it a more natural look, I think, than you can do it. I have done it before with paper and then cut the centre out, but that's much more fiddly. So I'll just leave that one to dry. So I'm going to use just a zig glue pen. I'm just going to try and stick to the outside of the jar, because as you know, if you've used vellum, things tend to show through it quite easily. There we go. Sticking that over there. And I've pre-cut the bows and the flowers ready. And I'm using Highland Heather for the main flower and Gorgeous Grape then for the extra dimension there. For the yellow flowers, I'm using Pineapple Punch and Grapefruit Grove. And for the greenery, I'm using Granny Apple Green. I love these spring colours. When I was in that craft day yesterday, we were all saying about how nice it is to use the nice bright colours again. So I'm just going to decorate the front of this. Obviously now when I stick this panel onto the front of the card, I must remember to only put dimensions on this side. Otherwise I'll be sticking my card shut and they'll think it's a joke card or something. There, just filling in some of the spaces. I like this brick embossing folder. Just gives it a little bit of something extra, I think. There we go. I'm sticking to an uneven number. I've gone for 5 flowers because they say it's more aesthetically pleasing to have odd numbers on things. I'm also going to use a little sequin, well, iridescent sequin I think this one is. I'm just trying to find, how come when you're looking for something you can never find your craft knife? Just to put a little bit of something on the bow. There it is. So now for the centre panel, that's just going to go in the centre here. What I'll do, I'll put all the measurements in the directions, sorry, I can't think what they're called. Yeah, in the bottom anyway, and for you to see then everything I used. Description, that's the word I'm looking for, of the directions. So I'm going to use the other green leaf stamp now for the internal part. And I've cut the bigger vase for this one. Again, I've coloured in the water. I'm so delighted. I've got nearly 150 subscribers. So if you do enjoy this video and you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love to welcome you as a new subscriber. There we go, just popping that on there. As you can see, I've thought I'd decorate my fingernails with the purple today. There we are. I love this stamp set. And you could make it for any occasion then, a nice birthday occasions, just to say thank you, thinking of you. Happy Sunday, whatever you fancy. I think I'll put another purple one on then, further up. And I've another little bow. I love these little bows. Let's go in by there. You probably don't see many plants actually with one stem and all these different colour flowers. So it's a bit of poetic license, I think. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and I've chosen Enjoy Your Special Day. I'm going to stamp that in Highland Heather. I'm just going to make sure, because these stamps are quite juicy. I'm going to stamp that up in the corner. And then that's going to be stuck on the inside there. I'll just make sure it's dry. There we go. And for all the little flowers and bows, I just raided my my scrap box, to be honest, rather than cutting in to a new piece of white cardstock. And I don't think that's quite straight. Hey ho, it's staying like it. Sticking that down there, and put a few dimensions, I say, on just the one side of this. A few sticky foam pads. And then the card will be finished. I've been really enjoying some card making. I need to do a bit more scrapbooking as well, but I tend to find I'm either in a card making mood or a scrapbooking mood. Otherwise I'm sort of changing the products I've got out on my desk all the time. I must say, filming YouTube videos is making me keep my desk slightly tidier. Right, so I'm going to try and make sure now I don't catch the other side, and try to get it centrally. There it is. So, there's the finished card. Using Jar of Love. This little gatefold card, and as you open it up there, it says Enjoy Your Special Day. And there it is there in Grapefruit Grove. And as you can see there, I used the big check. So let's just go over what we've been using. The colours I've used are Highland Heather, Gorgeous Grape, Pineapple Punch, Grapefruit Grove, and Granny Apple Green. I've used Gingham Gala, the Brick and Boss Enfolder, Jar of Love and the Everyday Jar Framelets, and the Stitched All Around, the sentiment from the Stitched All Around set. All that's left me to say now is have a fantastic week, whatever you've got planned. Probably work for lots of us. And I shall see you soon. Hwyl fawr.